Hey, and welcome to this Woman Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you today live as we do every single day, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Question Tequila Studios. We're in our own little special outpost here, the Liquid Lunchroom Studios in downtown Manhattan. We're still on Broadway, believe it or not. And right down the street here at the New York Stock Exchange. The market is in kind of a holding pattern today. There's been some news dribbling out on the trade talks with China. They did announce on Monday that we're going to start pulling back some tariffs on some big ticket items, but we're waiting for more news on that front. We have this ridiculous charade, kabuki theater, impeachment public hearings on today. We're going to be cutting in and out of those live hearings, but I want to remind you it's all a joke. It's all being done for show, and if you ask me, the Democrats are blowing themselves up. Bitcoin is down a little bit this week at 8,800, down about $30 today. Above 8,000, we're safe. Below there, could be lookout below. So keep your eyes peeled, stay nimble, stay alert, and remember to not take any financial advice from me because I'm not a financial advisor. I don't play one on TV. And due to the nature of the show being called Liquid Lunch, I often drink during the show. So don't take any financial advice from me. If you want advice on news, markets, politics, you bring in this guy because he's the best of the best. My co-host, managing editor Frank Morano, joins me as always. Hello, Frank.
Hello there, John. And just to reiterate what you were saying, I made the mistake of listening to you on when to sell my overstock stock, and I am now $1,600 poorer. So let me underscore.
Thank you.
Let me underscore John's comments that you should absolutely not take any investment advice from Mr. Tobacco.
Duly noted.
That's right. Now, speaking of jokes, I don't know if you saw the front page of today's New York Post, but yesterday, towards the end of the show, when we were previewing today's impeachment hearings, you asked if the whistleblower could be here today.
That's right.
I've been in touch with the whistleblower's attorney. He was unavailable, apparently, did not return, was default to comment. And I wondered, he had such a good appearance on this show on Friday when you weren't here. Where could he be? And then I see the front page of today's New York Post. Take a look at this.
Take a look.
This is, there you see in the center, is the whistleblower.
Oh!
Look at this. The very same,
look at this.
Very same whistleblower that we had on this show is in the nation's capital as part of this Adam Schiff
So
circus.
all these crazy things happen. Just let me point this out to you, right? Liquid Lunch is this new little thing. They gave us a shot. Two nobodies out of nowhere. Two Goombas from Staten Island.
Well,
a couple of weeks ago.
Let me take issue with your characterization of me
fine.
as both a nobody and
I'm trying to get us. I'm trying to get sympathetic feelings towards us. A couple of weeks ago, we had on Pam Bondi on this show, on Liquid Lunch, highlighting a case of some Americans that were being persecuted and held in Kuwait. And the publicity we brought to that issue, somehow or another, just a week later, Pam Bondi's been named to Donald Trump's impeachment defense team. She's the communications director. So we might have launched her.
And again, she was the Attorney General of Florida.
Yeah, but it's all because of Liquid Lunch.
Okay.
And then we had Terrence K. Williams on last week. Outspoken guy, social media monster, big Trump fan. Sure enough, as soon as we have him on, bingo, he gets appointed to Donald Trump's African-American panel. He's part of Trump's team now. We have the whistleblower on. He's on the front page of the news. And for those of you keeping score at home and thinking that this show isn't going anywhere, there's some big news right here for us. We're now... Liquid Lunch is being featured. I don't want to brag. I mean, our studio is on Broadway, but starting yesterday, thanks to our good friend Johnny Falcones from Viva Live TV. He was on just a few weeks ago with the real Johnny Drama, Johnny Alves. Viva Live TV has done a tremendous service to Liquid Lunch and the community writ large by doing this for us.
All right. Well, why don't you just tell us?
I guess he didn't do anything for us.
Exactly.
But starting yesterday, Liquid Lunch is being promoted on a giant 4-story high, half a block long billboard in the middle of Times Square. So things are happening for everybody who comes on the show, everybody who's part of the show, and, by the way, the show itself.
Yeah. Crossroads of the world.
Back to your regularly scheduled broadcast.
All right. Well, obviously, everybody's talking about this impeachment fiasco. And we're going to be bringing you updates throughout the whole program, including we'll go live to the testimony and the questioning of Ambassador Taylor. But I'll tell you my view about this whole impeachment situation is that it's not only dumb, but it's boring. I have very little interest in watching it, listening to it, talking about it. I think it's all futile. I think if you don't like Donald Trump, the best thing you should do is not vote for him. But call me crazy. So we are going to delve in. I mean, think about how crazy it is right now. Right now, the president of Turkey is who Congress just sanctioned and who has been accused of Kurdish genocide is in Washington right now meeting with the president, and yet nobody's talking about this because the whole world, every network is focused on this impeachment nonsense. So in some respects, we're going to be your counter-programming. We're going to tell you about some of the other important issues that are happening in America, in the world, and in Washington. And one of those is the subject of today's Frankly Speaking. You might have seen yesterday the Supreme Court began hearing arguments into DACA, Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals. Now, this all has to do with the so-called Dreamers. Now, let me say that I'm pretty much where I heard many of the justices yesterday, Justice Kavanaugh included, saying that we're very sympathetic to the Dreamers. Now, the Dreamers are people that would have been covered under the DREAM Act. They're people that came here as children and have essentially grown up in America, and although they're not citizens and they don't have legal status, they came here under the age of 16 through no fault of their own and have very much become a part of American society. And there's very little argument across the spectrum that there should be some arrangement made to make sure these folks aren't deported. So, now, President Obama decided on his own to stop enforcing the law. Just like the DA of San Francisco, the DA of Brooklyn, the DA of Philadelphia, he decided, no legislation, no change in the law, he decided, well, let's wave a magic wand and give these people special protective status. I want you to understand, there have been 3 presidents that tried to work with Congress on some sort of arrangement for the DREAM Act or to help the so-called Dreamers. George Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump all tried to work out a deal with Congress to protect the Dreamers. What happened? Congress did nothing. Nothing. So it's not up to President Obama to all of a sudden change the law on his own without congressional approval. And I applaud President Trump for saying, you know what? As long as this is the law, we're going to enforce it. To me, this is an open and shut case before the Supreme Court. And if we have any hope of Congress working out a deal to protect these Dreamers, we need the Supreme Court to kick this right back to where it's supposed to be, and that is to the halls of Congress. The Supreme Court should absolutely side with the president on this one. To do otherwise would say essentially Congress and their role is meaningless. John.
Frank, I was having a Pop-Tart, but that was fantastic. And I agree with you. Obama went in there and he just took, basically emperor-like action to say, I'm not going to enforce the law on something that's on the books. And Trump has every right, to go enforce the law like he's been doing. That's why our borders are safer. That's why our country's economy is better. We got rid of regulations. The guy just keeps doing great things. And
no, but look, whether it's great or not, that's up to us, the voters, to decide in terms of our elected officials.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's all about the Constitution. It has nothing to do with it being great or not great. If you don't like where President Trump is on the DREAM Act or where your member of Congress is, vote for someone else. It's not up to President Obama to usurp the proper legislative role of Congress.
I'm with you 100%, and you always make the finest points. In a continuing effort to make television great, I'm going to circle back for one moment and show our audience what's happening right now, as we speak, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at the crossroads of America.
You in Times Square right now?
You and I are up in Times Square with the Liquid Lunch logo, toasting a cocktail, which, just a few months ago, I wouldn't believe it if someone told me that you and I were going to be in Times Square, 4 stories high, half a block long, having a Manhattan and a martini together.
Well, just a few months ago, if you would have told me I'd be sitting in a TV studio at subarctic temperatures, in spite of not having been paid in months, I would have said, I don't believe it.
Okay. Well, we did it.
Exactly.
No matter what, we've done it. And
it does look pretty good, I must say. So we have Johnny Falconis to thank for that?
We have Johnny Falcones from Viva Live TV. We're going to have him back again soon. Very soon, we're going to be on 40 million phones.
Wow.
And I do want to point something out on a, very special note to me personally. We highlight on Friday, Nico comes on, we do the timeout, we talk about the top 5 high school plays of the week in all different sports. And we get submissions from all kinds of people with other sports, not just football and all other stuff. But my nephew, Todd Boy, who was playing his first CYO basketball game ever, scored his first basket ever. And I thought you might like to see it. There he is. He goes to the shot. It's off the backboard. It's in. Look at him pose. Bang. Look at him.
That's pretty good. That's impressive.
That's my boy.
That's pretty
That's
impressive.
my boy, Todd Boy, right there. And, you know, all this other crazy stuff going on in the world. One thing we always talk about, you know, we talk about sometimes Christianity and family and all this other stuff. It all comes back to family. And a little kid's joy from scoring a basket sometimes makes all this other crap mean nothing. So that's my boy. That's his pose after he scored his first basket.
Very nice.
And he and the nation will never forget it, Frankie. Thank you for allowing me to do that. He's the managing editor of the show, so all the content comes from him. We have a huge show today. It's Women Wednesday, but on Women Wednesday, when we get these monster men, we got to have them on. CEO of Kingsbridge Strategies, Tom Keogh, joins us today. He's going to be talking about China, the tariffs, the impeachment, all this other stuff. Wow. Zen Sams, actress, mom, executive producer of The Protocol, will also be joining us in our first hour. And Melissa Negrin Wiener joins us a little later on. She's an attorney. Jen Kearns is coming up a little later, a favorite of the show, former California Republican Party spokesperson. David Eisenbach and Johnny Burnett will be here to mix it up, and Mindy Molina will finish out our day when she comes on a little later via Skype, talk about her book, God Loves You, and there's not anything anyone can do about it. There's nothing we can do about taking a quick commercial break right here. We're going to do that. We're going to come back right after this with Tom Keogh.